All right, you bastards, buckle up for a deep dive into Royal Mail. That dinosaur of a system we all love to bitch about. Got a stack of articles here, some seriously geeky notes, so let's cut the crap and get right into it.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so first, let's rewind back to the Dark Ages, like 1516. That's when Henry VIII, you know, the dude with way too many wives, decided England needed a master of the posts. I guess even back then, royal gossip couldn't wait for a carrier pigeon, right?
It is pretty wild how far back Royal Mail goes, but yeah, back then it was purely for the king and his buddies.
So, like, average Joes couldn't just send a love letter.
Nah, not a chance. It wasn't until 1635 that Charles I, the one who lost his head, literally opened it up to the public. But get this, the recipient had to pay for the bloody letter.
Imagine getting a bill for your mate's drunken ramblings. Sorry, mate. Can't afford your existential crisis this week.
Exactly. Talk about a fucked up system.
So when did this whole postal service thing become official? Like a real government gig?
Well, after a bit of that whole Civil War thing, the Post Office Act of 1660 made it legit. Became a proper government entity with all the rules and bullshit.
So mail coaches, grumpy postmen, lost love letters.
Got it.
But when does this story get interesting? Like groundbreaking?
Hold on tight, because here comes Roland Hill. This dude in 1840 just flipped the script on the postal world.
Did he invent email or something?
Not quite, but close. He came up with the uniform penny post. 1 penny to send a letter anywhere in the UK. Cheaper than a pint down the pub. And the kicker, the sender paid up front.
That's a game changer. Bold move.
Hill was a visionary. He knew cheap postage would mean more communication. And to prove you paid, he gave us the world's first adhesive stamp, the penny black.
So basically, Roland Hill invented crowdfunding for the Postal Service. Genius.
Pure genius. His ideas spread like wildfire, and suddenly everyone was sending letters. It was like the Victorian version of spamming. Londoners were getting up to 12 deliveries a day.
12 delivery? My attention span couldn't handle that. I'd be drowning in paper.
Different times, that's for sure. But those iconic red pillar boxes we see today, those didn't show up until 1852.
So they built the garage before the car. That's backwards.
It does seem a bit odd, but those pillar boxes with the royal ciphers on them, the monarchs' initials, they caused a right stir in Scotland.
Wait, the Scots lost their shit over some initials on a mailbox.
You better believe it. During Queen Elizabeth II's reign, some Scottish nationalists weren't happy with her using HAIR in Scotland. They argued she should be Queen Elizabeth, no number, since there was no Queen Elizabeth of Scotland before her.
They were fighting over a Roman numeral. Sounds like my kind of history lesson.
To stop any more mailbox vandalism, they either slapped post office on them or used the Scottish crown instead. Talk about a first world problem.
Those Scots, they take their royal history seriously. But let's be real. Things couldn't stay all happy-clappy forever, could they? The internet must have screwed things up for them.
You're spot on. Fast forward to 2006, and Royal Mail's monopoly goes kaput. Competition, strikes, fines for lost mail. It's been a shit show ever since.
So email and online shopping basically kicked Royal Mail in the balls.
Pretty much. The way we communicate changed. Who needs a letter when you can just fire off an email or a text?
Except for those bloody birthday cards from your aunt.
You got that right. But even with all these challenges, they're trying to adapt. They've got these machines called integrated mail processors, IMPs for short.
IMPs. Sounds like something out of Star Wars. Are these like robot postmen with lasers?
Sort of. They use optical character recognition, OCR, to scan and sort mail at lightning speed, like a machine that reads your handwriting, even the messiest addresses.
So my chicken scratch is helping these robot overlords take over.
Well, not exactly, but legible handwriting does make their job easier. It's like speaking clearly to someone who doesn't understand your language.
Right, so I should be nice to these machines. Don't want to end up on Santa's naughty list and have my mail sent to Siberia.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
But even with these high-tech IMPs, things can still go tits up. Remember that time they got fined millions for losing, stealing, or destroying mail?
Jesus. Makes you want to hand deliver your own letters. But wait, what about those rumors of drone deliveries? Are they replacing postmen with flying robots?
That's the future, mate. They're testing them out for remote deliveries, like to those little islands off the coast. Imagine getting your Amazon package delivered by a drone swooping down from the sky.
That's some Jetson shit right there. But what about those poor postmen? Are they all going to be out of a job?
Relax. It's not like they're replacing every postman with a drone. At least, not yet. But it does show Royal Mail is trying to keep up with the times.
All right. I, for one, welcome our robot mail overlords. But before we go full sci-fi, let's talk about the human side of things. Those postal workers have had a rough time, haven't they?
No doubt about it. Strikes, pay disputes, job losses, the whole nine yards. Remember that huge walkout in 1971 that lasted 7 weeks? Those posties are a tough bunch.
7 weeks. That's like a summer holiday. What were they so pissed off about?
The usual suspects. Pay and working conditions. Then there was another big one in '88 over bonuses for new recruits in London. It's a tough gig, delivering mail in all weather, dealing with grumpy bastards.
I would last 5 minutes. I'd tell everyone to fuck off and quit by lunchtime.
Well, there have been plenty of those wildcat strikes, especially in the early 2000s when they tried to modernize. People hate change, even if it's for the better.
Change can kiss my arse. But seriously, what about all those job losses? That's got to be rough on morale.
It's been brutal. They've closed down mail centers left and right to make things efficient. Remember that plan in 2011 to axe over 1,700 jobs? They basically streamlined the whole fucking system.
So they're chucking people out of work to make things faster and cheaper. Sounds familiar. But hey, at least they've got that sweet credit union to help them out, right?
Yeah, the Penny Post Credit Union, been around since the 90s, helping postal workers save and borrow, like their own little financial safety net.
That's actually pretty cool. A bunch of postmen looking after each other. Like a socialist utopia in a world of corporate greed.
You could say that. But let's not forget, those postal workers have a history of fighting for their rights. They know how to stand up for themselves. And they're not afraid to strike if they have to.
Good for them. Workers of the world, unite. But I'm curious, who are the masterminds behind all this postal madness? Who's calling the shots at Royal Mail?
Right now, it's Simon Thompson, the CEO. Took over in 2021, right in the middle of the pandemic, so he's had his work cut out for him.
Talk about trial by fire. Taking over a massive organization during a global crisis, I'd probably just hide under my desk and cry.
He's got balls of steel, that's for sure. Before him, we had Moya Green, the first woman to run Royal Mail. Real trailblazer. Took over in 2010.
A woman in charge of the mail. That's got to be a first. But wait, didn't you mention a chairman? Isn't that like the top dog?
Yeah, the chairman's like the wise old owl, keeping an eye on everything. Right now it's Keith Williams, been there since 2018. But before him, we had a whole bunch of chairmen going all the way back to the 60s when they restructured the whole organization.
So it's like a game of musical chairs at the top. You know what's funny? We've talked about kings, revolutions, robots, but not a single word about envelopes.
You're right. Got so caught up in the drama, forgot about the humble envelope. Those paper soldiers carrying our messages across the land.
They're the unsung heroes. But you know what else we haven't talked about? Stamps. Those tiny pieces of art we lick and stick without a second thought.
It's amazing, isn't it, how a tiny piece of paper can represent history, culture, politics. They're like miniature windows into the world.
And the thrill of getting a letter with a foreign stamp, like a little souvenir.
Funny how something so small can be so evocative. Stamps can transport you to another time and place.
I'm starting to see the appeal of stamp collecting. Maybe I'll start when I'm old and senile.
Never too early. But for now, let's get back to the Royal Mail roller coaster. We've covered a lot, but there's still more to dig into.
Hit me with it. I'm ready for round 2.
All right, let's talk about how this whole system actually works. We'll delve into the logistical maze of mail centers, those sorting hubs where the magic, or should I say the organized chaos, happens.
Sounds complicated, but I'm game. Lead the way, oh wise postal guru.
Okay, so these mail centers, they're like the unsung heroes of the whole postal system. These places are like the grand central station of letters and packages, a 247 whirlwind of sorting and dispatching. Royal Mail's got a whole network of these bad boys across the UK. Each one handles a specific area.
So it's like all our letters and packages end up in these mail centers before they get sent out to us. Sounds like a logistical nightmare, like trying to herd 1,000 pigeons.
It's organized chaos for sure. Imagine a giant jigsaw puzzle. Millions of pieces constantly moving. They've got to deal with mail coming in from everywhere. Sort it by destination, send it out to the right delivery offices. It's a crazy dance of letters and parcels before they reach their final destination.
So chucking a letter in a postbox isn't the end of the story. There's a whole secret world of sorting going on.
You got it. It's like a secret society of postal ninjas working their asses off to make sure your birthday cards arrive on time. And the key to it all is IMP, integrated mail processing.
IMP. Sounds kind of ominous. Like a secret government agency or something?
Yeah.
What are these IMPs all about?
Think of them as high-tech sorting machines. With OCD, they use optical character recognition, OCR, to scan envelopes, read addresses, and slap on those fluorescent orange barcodes.
So they're basically robot postmen sorting through mountains of mail with lasers. Sounds like we're living in a sci-fi movie.
They can process thousands of letters per hour, way faster than any human. It's all about efficiency and speed, getting shit where it needs to go.
But what about those handwritten addresses? The ones that look like a doctor's scribble. Can these robot brains even read that shit?
That's where it gets tricky. The OCR tries its best, analyzes shapes, recognizes patterns, even predicts what a crappy letter might be. But yeah, if it's too messy, the machine might just give up.
So my shitty handwriting is screwing up the postal service. I'm like a one-man letter-losing machine.
Well, not exactly. But yeah, legible handwriting makes their job a hell of a lot easier. Think of it like speaking clearly to someone who doesn't understand your language. So do those IMPs a favor and try to write neatly, all right?
Fine, fine. I'll try to be more considerate to our robot overlords. What about parcels? Do they get the same fancy treatment as letters?
Parcels are a whole different ball game. They have their own sorting systems, dedicated delivery networks. Royal Mail even has a separate company, Parcel Force Worldwide, for the bigger, bulkier stuff.
Parcel Force? Sounds like a military operation. Do they wear camo gear and rappel down chimneys with Amazon boxes?
Not quite that dramatic. But they do take their deliveries seriously. They handle everything from small packages to oversized items, even international deliveries.
So if I need to send my mate in Australia a crate of tea bags, I should call in the Parcel Force.
They'd be your best bet. But let's not forget the OG postmen, the backbone of the whole postal service. They're the ones who actually get your letters and parcels into your hands, rain or shine, snow or sleet.
Yeah, those guys are the real MVPs, walking for miles every day, dodging traffic, dealing with grumpy customers, probably even the occasional dog attack. They deserve a medal, or at least a free beer at the end of their rounds.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of the postal world. And despite all the fancy technology, they're still essential.
But it hasn't been easy for them, has it? All those strikes, job losses, the pressure to do more with less, it's enough to make you want to run away and join the circus.
You're telling me they've had a rough time. Remember those crazy wildcat strikes in the early 2000s? It was like a postal revolution. Workers demanding better pay, better conditions.
Yeah, I can't blame them. Who wants to be treated like crap when you're the one keeping the whole system running? What about these mail centers? Are they shutting them down like those Blockbuster video stores?
Sadly, yes. They've been shutting them down. Part of a modernization program, trying to make everything more efficient, save some cash.
So they're sacrificing jobs and local services, all in the name of progress. Sounds about right.
It's the way of the world, unfortunately. They gotta adapt or die. Especially with email and online shopping taking over, those envelopes and packages aren't gonna deliver themselves.
It's a jungle out there,
Yeah.
even for the Postal Service. You know what I find interesting? We've talked about the past, present, even the future of mail, but not a single word about those iconic red pillar boxes.
You're right, those red pillars, standing on every street corner, they're more than just mailboxes. They're a symbol of Britain, our history and traditions.
They're like the Buckingham Palace of the postal world. But what about those royal ciphers on them? The fancy initials of the monarch. What's the story there?
Ah, the royal ciphers. They've been on pillar boxes since Victorian times, like a royal seal of approval, but they haven't been without controversy.
Wait, there's drama surrounding the initials on a mailbox? Spill the tea.
Oh, yeah. During Queen Elizabeth's reign, there's a bit of a fuss in Scotland about her using EIR.
Wait, the Scots lost their minds over some initials on a mailbox? What the hell happened?
Some Scottish nationalists weren't happy with her using IR in Scotland. They argued she should just be Queen Elizabeth, no number, since there was no Queen Elizabeth of Scotland before her.
So they were basically fighting over a Roman numeral. That's some next-level nitpicking.
Things got a bit heated. People even vandalized some of the boxes.
Damn, those Scots take their histories seriously. It's like a postal version of Braveheart.
To avoid any more mailbox massacres, they either replaced the cipher with post office or used the Scottish crown.
So they gave those pillar boxes a Scottish makeover. Talk about a diplomatic solution.
It was a smart way to handle things. But let's be real, those red boxes have seen some shit over the years. Wars, revolutions, the rise of the internet.
They're like silent witnesses to history, standing strong through it all. But what's the craziest thing someone's tried to send in the mail?
Oh man, where do I even start? People have tried to mail everything. Live animals, human remains, you name it. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff they've intercepted.
That's both hilarious and terrifying. I can only imagine the look on the postman's face when he finds a live badger in his bag.
Speaking of postmen, let's not forget the crazy shit they deal with on their rounds. Aggressive dogs, shitty weather, all while trying to meet their delivery targets.
They're practically superheroes. Dodging traffic, battling the elements, they deserve a raise. And maybe a free coffee from every house on their route.
No argument there, but yeah, their job's not without its risks. Remember that time a postman got attacked by a swarm of bees?
A bee attack. That's some biblical shit. I bet he wished he had a flamethrower in his mailbag.
Just goes to show, being a postman is not for the faint of heart. Takes a certain type of person to deal with all that crap.
True, but let's not forget about the other side of the coin. What about those customers who make the postman's life hell? You know, the ones who complain about everything, never tip, and always look like they're about to explode.
Oh, every postman has stories about those nightmare customers. The ones who yell at them for late deliveries, accuse them of stealing mail, and generally make their day miserable.
I bet those postmen have some choice words for those people.
I'm sure they do, but they've got a job to do, and they do it professionally, even when dealing with assholes.
Okay, let's move on to something a bit lighter. What about those funny little stories? The quirky ones that make you smile and remind you that even in the postal world, there's still room for humor.
Oh, there are tons of those. Remember the time a postman delivered a letter addressed to God, heaven?
Wait, someone actually tried to mail a letter to God? That's either incredibly sweet or completely bonkers.
The postman, bless his heart, actually wrote back, saying God is everywhere and didn't need a specific address.
That's so adorable. It's like a Hallmark movie moment right there on a postal route.
There's also the story of the postman who delivered a package to a house with a "Beware of Dogs" sign. He was super careful approaching the house, only to be greeted by a tiny chihuahua with a grumpy face.
I can just picture that little dog, all bark and no bite. It's like something out of a cartoon.
It's those little stories that remind us that even in the world of mail delivery, there's always something unexpected waiting around the corner.
It's like a daily dose of reality TV, but with less drama and more feel-good moments. And you can't forget about that special connection postmen have with people on their routes. They become familiar faces, trusted members of the community, even friends sometimes.
They're like the eyes and ears of the neighborhood, noticing when something's wrong, checking in on the elderly folks, looking out for their neighbors.
They're like community watchdogs,
Yeah.
but with less barking and more letter sorting. And you can't forget about the impact they have on our lives, especially in this digital age. They deliver those tangible reminders of our connections. Handwritten letters, birthday cards, even the occasional love letter.
It's a real physical connection in a world that's becoming more and more virtual. And those postmen, those dedicated folks who go through all that to deliver those connections, they deserve our respect.
Absolutely. They're the unsung heroes of our interconnected world. The postal ninjas who keep the lines of communication open. One letter, one parcel, one doorstep at a time. All right, so after all that, what's next for Royal Mail? We're going to see those little red vans replaced by Amazon drones and robots?
It's hard to say for sure, but they definitely got to adapt to survive. Everyone wants their shit delivered yesterday.
Yeah, true. It's a tough game. Competition's fierce, expectations are insane. But if anyone can pull it off, it's those postal ninjas they've been delivering for centuries no matter what.
Absolutely. They've seen it all, storms, strikes, the internet. They're like the cockroaches of the delivery world. They just won't die.
So what gives you hope for the future of Royal Mail?
The people, mate. The postmen and women who are out there every day, rain or shine, connecting us all. They're the heart of Royal Mail. As long as they're out there battling the weather and the grumpy gits, I think we're in good hands.
Well said. So next time you see your postie, give them a nod, eh? They're the unsung heroes of our world.
And who knows, maybe one day they'll be delivering your packages by drone. Until then, keep sending those letters and parcels. And for God's sake, write clearly. Those IMPs have feelings too, you know?
All right then, that's a wrap for our Royal Mail deep dive. From kings and queens to robots and drones, we've covered it all.
Hopefully you learned a thing or two about how it all works.
And next time you chuck a letter in that red box, think about the crazy journey it's about to go on. Sorting centers, delivery vans, postmen, maybe even a drone someday. It's all about connection, communication, sharing our stories.
Yeah, even in this digital age, there's still something magical about sending and receiving mail.
So go out there and post something, you brilliant bastards. And until next time, happy mailing.